Well, it's a very warm welcome and thank you for joining us on this independent off-tube studio commentary. The game at the Vitality has just got underway. Arsenal taking on Bournemouth here, the home side, needing to find some form from somewhere. It's been a difficult start for Andoni Iraola as the Bournemouth manager. The Gunners, on the other hand, have had a good start to the season, dropping a few points, but they'll feel if they can get a win today, they'll keep themselves close to that top four. And of course, keeping an eye on what Manchester City are doing today against Wolves as well. It's myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz, and Ben Rogers taking you through the action. Ben, Arsenal will see themselves as favourites here, but Bournemouth have got players that can cause problems.
Yeah, they certainly have, and Arsenal will be aware of that. I think, obviously, you think about the reverse fixture last season. Arsenal were dominant at the Vitality Stadium, but they fell quickly behind at the Emirates, didn't they? 2 quick goals for Bournemouth. Arsenal obviously in the end did turn that game around, but they won't want to make a similar start here this afternoon. And you mentioned Arsenal have dropped points already, obviously at home against Fulham and in the North London derby last weekend, so they can't really afford to drop any more points at this early stage of the season, especially when Manchester City and Liverpool have looked so good. So it's certainly an important game for Arsenal and a chance to put the pressure on before obviously Tottenham and Liverpool both play later on tonight.
They do, absolutely, yes. And you mentioned that game at the Emirates. Reece Nelson has scoring was at the 7th or 8th minute of injury time there to get Arsenal. That's a very, very late winner. There was a bit of a late challenge there from Odegaard as straight away Bournemouth trying to get on the attack. Our referee Michael Salisbury allowing play to go on. It was Milos Cherries who was taken out, but the Cherries still in possession. It's Solanke turning and heading towards the penalty area. He's got a couple of options here left and right. Goes across to Cherries here on the left. And he's forced to go back towards the halfway line. But that's what Bournemouth need to do. They don't want to be giving the ball away too easily to Arsenal. So at some point Arsenal are going to get a bit of possession. They are going to try and enforce their style here at the Vitality. Long ball over the top, down the right-hand side. Tavernier does just about keep it alive. And he's heading towards the penalty area now. Wants it on his left foot. He's going to try and get a shot away. Is he? Oh, we're just waiting a little bit too long. And it was Declan Rice that got the final telling touch to get Arsenal back into possession. And Nketiah, though, wasn't able to hold on to it. And Bournemouth back in possession. Just to remind you very quickly, Neto is in goal for Bournemouth. The back four of Aarons, Zabani, Senesi and Cherries. Billing and Cook are the 2 holding midfielders, with Tavernier, Christie and Cliver as the attacking 3 playing behind Solanke for Arsenal. It is David Raya in goal, a back 4 of White, Saliba, Gabriel and Zinchenko. The 3 in midfield of Havertz, Rice and Odegaard, with Saka, Gabriel Jesus and Nketiah as the attacking 3. Arsenal now at the edge of their own penalty area, and their sort of fluorescent stripy top. Quite a sort of a lively number here for the Gunners, but they're trying to get forward. Just as they do that, they do lose the ball, and it's a ball clipped over the top from Cliver. That was not to anyone in particular, and it's away for a goal kick.
Yeah, it is, but it's a confident start from Bournemouth, Paul. It has to be said. I think I've been impressed with Bournemouth, what they've done so far. Arsenal haven't really been able to get in possession of the ball yet. You mentioned, obviously, Arsenal in possession will be dangerous, but out of possession at the moment, I've been impressed with Bournemouth. Arsenal now finally getting, obviously, ball to foot, courtesy of that goal kick. But Bournemouth looks to be pressing Arsenal high up the pitch, and obviously it's a test of Arsenal's mettle here, but this time they play out really well.
They do. They find some space down the left, and Zinchenko is away. His pass through the middle, though, isn't particularly good. I mean, he may have been slightly distracted by the referee sort of standing in line with the pass, but he still should have put enough on it for it to reach Odegaard, and it was Lewis Cook that was able to win that back for Bournemouth. Cherries now heading back towards their own half. Senesi trying to play a ball through the middle, easily cut out by Gabriel, flicked up in the air. Bit of a fight for it in midfield before Bukayo Saka takes it down here for Arsenal. Looking across towards the left-hand side, but in the end he plays a rather wayward ball back towards his own penalty area, forcing Gabriel a good 15-20 yards back towards the edge of his own box. Back now with David Raya, who I must admit I expected at some point that Raya was going to get into the Arsenal first team, but I didn't think it would happen as quickly as it has done. And he had a good game, another good game, and now it seems like it's now his position to lose, really, isn't it?
Yeah, he's certainly now the undisputed number 1, even though Aaron Ramsdale was absolutely amazing midweek against Brentford. He made a couple of fantastic saves, but I think as well, Ramsdale probably feel quite hard done by because he didn't really make any mistakes to give David Raya the number 1 shirt, but perhaps Arteta initially, brought Raya in with the intention of putting him in, and he kind of did hint at it before putting him in for the Everton game, and then obviously, with a clean sheet at Everton and a clean sheet, to follow that up with, it's hard to kind of remove him from that number 1 shirt, if you like.
It is, absolutely. A couple of Brentford fans singing just a poor David Raya to Ramsdale in that game in midweek, but certainly, of course, Raya making that great save in the North London derby last week, and Ramsdale was first to lead the applause, although a few comments on social media, perhaps including from a couple of pundits, suggesting that he was going a little bit over the top with the congratulations. But of course, it's a difficult one for Ramsdale because he is a committed Arsenal player. He wants to see Arsenal do as well as possible, but when you're a goalkeeper and you're not playing, it's always very difficult to keep that motivation up. But with Arsenal having so many games, cup games, league games in short succession, We'd imagine there'll still be some chances for Ramsdale to remind Mikel Arteta just how good he is. But the Gunners now enjoying a couple of minutes of possession here, but it's all in midfield, not really able to get forward so far. Declan Rice on the ball now, going square across towards Ben White. He looked up, thought about playing a long ball, but just decides to hold on to it for the time being, playing it back towards William Saliba. This is one of 7 games being played in the Premier League right now, but no goals to tell you about in any of the other games. As soon as something happens, we will let you know. Just to confirm, in the earlier game, Aston Villa absolutely hammered Brighton by 6-1. It was as impressive a performance from Villa as it was a very disappointing one from Brighton. But Arsenal here at the edge of their own box now. Gabriel going square to Declan Rice. Closed down by Tavernier and by Lewis Cook as well. Back towards David Raya. Needs some options here on the left. I think he was hoping for Ben White. Even my colleague here, Ben Rogers, just suggesting that White should have been in a slightly better position, but they waited their turn, and suddenly Zinchenko is playing through the middle here, and it opens up for Arsenal. It's over towards the right-hand side. Saka has got a man over in Ben White. There is Ben White. Plays that across the 6-yard box. And eventually it's hooked up in the air, not cleared too far from the box. It still drops to Rice. He then sets up Zinchenko. He was being closed down by Tavernier, but Arsenal still keep it alive. It's with Gabriel Jesus now on the left-hand side. He puts a cross into the penalty area. Volleyed clear there by Senesi back towards the halfway line. But this is looking a little bit better from Arsenal now. They finally had a bit of an overload on that right-hand side and immediately put Bournemouth under pressure.
They turned that so quick from back to front, didn't they, Paul? And obviously, I was signalling for Ben White to come and make that angle. In the end, the angle he was at was perfect for David Raya to make a player ball in between the Bournemouth midfield into Zinchenko. He stepped into that inverted fullback role that he loves to play, and then he drives with the ball, finds Bukayo Saka. Saka has Ben White on the overlap. Those two have got great understanding on the right-hand side. I think Arsenal missed that in the opening couple of games of the season when White was playing in a more central position of the back four with Partey as the right back. But since Partey's injury, White's come back out to the right-hand side of the four, and again he's got that great understanding of Bukayo Saka. He plays the ball on the overlap across the face of goal. It's Kai Havertz and Eddie Nketiah coming in. It was good defending from Bournemouth though, but much better football from the Gunners.
Yeah, they're looking a little bit better now, Arsenal. That's good work though from Ryan Christie coming back towards the edge of his own penalty area. Just flicks the ball off Kai Havertz to win Bournemouth a throw close to their own penalty area. We're getting a replay of their last Arsenal move. I mean, I think, in all fairness, it looked to me as though White may have actually been offside when Saka played that ball to him on the overlap. Flag never went up though, so it may well be that he was just in time, but that ball played across the 6-yard box never quite found Eddie Nketiah. Now Bournemouth clear their lines up towards the halfway line, but it is just a clearance. There's nobody in black and red shirts chasing that one, so Arsenal now back in possession. Here is Declan Rice, closed down by Phil Billing. Back towards William Saliba. Gabriel holding on to the ball. Now, you mentioned injuries. I mean, injuries are a theme for both teams in this game. A couple of big players missing for both sides. More than a couple of players missing for Arsenal, of course. Martinelli, Trossard, Partey. Timber's out long term as well. But say, with all those players still to come back, it really does show just how wide that Arsenal squad is.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously there was injury concerns ahead of this game of Saka, Rice and William Saliba. Obviously all three of those in from the start today, which is going to be good ahead of the Manchester City fixture, which is coming next weekend now. So Arsenal will make sure that that they've got their players fully fit. Obviously in terms of Partey, Martinelli and Timber, they look like long-term absentees. Trossard looks as if he's going to be touch and go for next weekend, but obviously when you're facing the best team in the league, Manchester City, you need to have that fully fit squad. It should be a good fixture, but Arsenal want to get the job done today, more importantly.
Well, they do, but they very nearly get a freebie there from Bournemouth. The Cherries playing out from the back, and it was a loose ball just at the edge of their own box. It very nearly was picked off by Eddie Nketiah. Bournemouth just about get things under control, and it's Billing now being closed down by two Arsenal players. Saka is able to get a block in, and Odegaard does get there ahead of Senesi. So Bournemouth have now given the ball away at the edge of their own box. Milos Kerkez is back. That's good work from the Hungarian international there just to win the ball back for his side. And then tracking back into his own half is Justin Kluivert, able to play that ball over towards the right-hand side now. Diagonal ball here from Max Aarons is a good one to Kerkez. Bournemouth not panicking there. They could have just hoofed it along, but they're trying to play out from the back. Signs of what Andoni Iraola is trying to instill into this team. It's not been an ideal start for him, and obviously always going to be under pressure as well, considering that although Bournemouth didn't play beautiful football last season, they stayed up with a few games to spare, and because they started so badly, it's always going to put extra pressure on Iraola.
Yeah, and actually I think they've looked better in these opening couple of games in terms of the football they've been playing into it than what they did last season, but it's always the way, isn't it? I think Bournemouth have actually tried a bit more open, a bit more expansive, and you can already see that in the opening 10 minutes of this game. You know, they're not sitting back and inviting the Arsenal pressure on. They're trying to play their football. They're being brave in possession of the ball. You mentioned it there. They're not trying to go long, although they have just tried on this occasion. They are trying to, get into the face of Arsenal, press Arsenal high up the pitch when they play out from the back, and have a go at this game. And I think that's the right way to go about it. Iraola's definitely got them playing a good brand of football, but they just need the results now to show for it.
They do. They've got to try and get a few points on the board. International break coming up in 2 weeks' time as well. So I want to get something done before then, but here come Arsenal now with Gabriel Jesus. He's got an overlap as well from Havertz. Havertz into the box. He hits the side netting. It does get a deflection. Arsenal will get the consolation prize of a corner, but there were options for Havertz in the box as well to try and pass that.
It's had a tough start to life in North London, Kai Havertz, but I think Arsenal fans are aware there is a footballer in there. It's a £65 million price tag. They are going to need to get results from Kai Havertz, but Mikel Arteta continues to pick him in his starting 11, and he had a good game midweek against Brentford, Kai Havertz, and it's already quite lively in the opening 10 minutes of this game at the Vitality. He's getting himself into dangerous positions. On this occasion, I think his effort was going to go goalwards. I don't think it would have troubled Neto, but the deflection in the end takes it wide. It will be an Arsenal corner, and you'd expect with the aerial threat they've got here, they may well cause a few problems from it.
Well, they've taken it short, and it's Zinchenko now at the edge of the box, thinking about putting a cross into the penalty area. It's back with Rice over towards Jesus. There's an overlap there. Arsenal perhaps guilty of just overcomplicating that corner, and then they just probably needed a ball into the box, really.
Yeah, similar to their last away game, Paul, against Everton. They scored from a similar set-piece routine at Goodison Park, of course. Arsenal's 2 away games so far in the Premier League have resulted in 1-0 victories, Crystal Palace and Everton, and on this occasion wasn't quite what the doctor ordered, but they have been effective with set-pieces, Arsenal. I know a few of our fans last season was kind of disappointed with the amount of kind of short set-piece routines the Gunners were playing, but this season it has kind of looked a bit more fluid in transition, and like I said, it resulted in a goal against Everton at Goodison, but this occasion it's just overcomplicating things, you said, and probably one too many passes.
Here come the Gunners now in midfield. A bit of pressing there though from Ryan Christie. Wins the ball back for Bournemouth, and here's Tavernier now going through the middle. He's got Solanke ahead of him. Solanke gets to the edge of that. He goes for goal, and it's a really good challenge there at the last second from William Saliba. And so I was going to say he puts it out for a corner, but it looks to me as though Solanke has got the final touch. I mean, looking at both... well, it looks to me as though it could have been a corner kick, but it has been given as a goal kick after all of that, and we're getting word potentially of an early goal at Molineux. Yeah,
Wolverhampton Wanderers lead Manchester City by a 1-0. I mean, that's one that the Arsenal fans will keep an eye on. A shocking lead, really, but Manchester City have been guilty of conceding a few early goals this season, and another one here, of course, lost midweek against Newcastle, although that was a weakened Manchester City team, but a real interesting story developing there with struggling Wolverhampton Wanderers outfit leading at Molineux.
Well, absolutely, but it's still very early days, and sometimes an early goal against Manchester City just angers them even more into really starting to play against them. In City, going into that game, have 18 points from a possible 18, with already a plus 13 goal difference after just 6 games. Really is quite an incredible start from Guardiola's side, but to say if they were to lose today, that would certainly make things interesting. And it's Pedro Neto with the goal for Wolves in that game. It's the only game in the Premier League so far. All the games at 3 o'clock are available on our service. Everton, Luton, Man United, Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Burnley, West Ham, Sheffield United. Of course, this game here between Bournemouth and Arsenal, and Wolves against Manchester City, and the late game as well, Tottenham against Liverpool, looks like a very exciting fixture in the early evening kickoff, as Tavernier given away a free kick. It's been given as a handball.
It's handball. It was a bit of a situation. It's almost the corner, isn't it, from where the position of the ball is. It was a slight nudging back from Tavernier on Gabriel. Gabriel's done what all the defenders do when they feel a nudge in the back in that situation, grab the ball, but on this occasion, referee and his linesman, to their credit, stood strong and said that wasn't a foul.
Yeah, well, it's a chance now for Arsenal, but that ball is whipped in far too long. I mean, I think he was trying to catch out somebody at the near post with a really flat ball in, but it's easily dealt with and easily cleared up towards the halfway line, where Neto, Bournemouth goalkeeper and captain, comes out, launches a long ball towards the edge there. Ben White just touches it straight to an opposition player. Senesi then plays it into Kluivert. Kluivert's looking to try and put a cross in as the flag gone up. It's been a bit of a delay, but the flag now has gone up. Justin Kluivert was in an offside position, so it's going to be a free kick to Arsenal coming up to 15 minutes gone. Goalless here. It's not goalless anymore though at St James's Park. Newcastle taking an early lead against Burnley, just waiting for confirmation of the goal scorer. But you do really worry for the three newly promoted sides this season. It looks like it could be a long season for all three of them.
Yeah, I think they are in a bit of trouble, aren't they? Particularly Sheffield United and Luton. But Burnley themselves, although they've put in a couple of good performances, don't seem to be picking up the points. There's a massive game coming up midweek for those two.
Certainly is. That will be available on our service as well, as Luton take on Burnley in an unusual 7:30 kick-off on Tuesday. They've got special permission from UEFA to have that game played on a Champions League night, just because Luton had their early home games this season rescheduled to allow them to finish doing improvements to their stadium. But getting back to action here at the Vitality, Arsenal in possession now. Saka leaving it here for Odegaard. Plays it square to Zinchenko. I thought he might want to pull the trigger, but he just plays it across towards the left-hand side for Gabriel Jesus, exchanging a quick pass with Kai Havertz. The ball into the box. Odegaard, not the best pass back to Jesus. He's doing his best to try and win that back, but Ryan Christie is there for Bournemouth. He fires the ball down the left-hand side. It's a really good one as well to pick out Tavernier, and there's a chance enough for Bournemouth to go on a counter, but Tavernier plays the ball behind Justin Kluivert, who was looking for something a little bit further forward, and Arsenal are able to negate that threat, and it's Ben White going back towards David Raya. Arsenal now just seem to have a little bit more control, but again, a couple of loose passes, and Bournemouth are going to try and jump on that every time.
Yeah, I think Bournemouth going forward in the final third, they've picked up some good passes, haven't they? You imagine that original one there in towards Marcus Tavernier, and then he just couldn't quite find the ball that was required to Justin Kluivert on that left-hand side for for Bournemouth, I should say. If it was just a bit closer into his stride where he could take it, he had the opportunity to run at Ben White, and Dominic Solanke was in the box. It was a bit of a situation going on, 2v2, but on this occasion obviously wasn't to be for the host. But I like the way they're being positive in possession of the play, and I don't think Arsenal are having it all their own way here at all.
No, Bournemouth are doing their best to try and upset the Gunners' rhythm, but they're going forward here now again. Arsenal with Nketiah finding Saka on the right-hand side. He leaves it for Odegaard. Odegaard then hoists the ball into the box, looking for the far post, headed off the bar. It must be in, and it's Bukayo Saka. Well, he can't miss from there. He's not famous for his heading ability, but nobody's going to miss a header from that sort of distance. It was a very deep-angled ball from Odegaard, headed across by Gabriel Jesus. It's deflected off the underside of the bar. The goalkeeper had dived for it, and Saka gets the goal for Arsenal, who take the lead.
He does indeed. Bukayo Saka, absolutely brilliant from Arsenal and Odegaard. I'm not quite sure what Neto was doing at his near post for the original cross, though. Bit of a strange situation, wasn't it? It was a great ball in from Odegaard. Gabriel Jesus does well with his header. It bounced off the woodwork straight into the path of Bukayo Saka. He cannot miss from 2 yards out. But interesting to see this again, though. Jesus at the back post. Neto's position is just absolutely shambolic. I'm not sure what he's doing.
I can only assume that he's misjudged where the ball is going to be going from Jesus, because he seems to be diving to try and save the ball that's clearly going to hit the post, and it's going to go nowhere near him, but he's sort of diving across to save it. When Jesus' head, I think maybe because it flicked off the top of the forehead of Jesus, it might have gone off a slightly funny angle that surprised the keeper, but we're trying to find excuses for him that aren't really there. That Neto's got to be more confident as to where he's going to go and try and do something with that first header. But once that ball cannons off the bar and drops in front of Bukayo Saka, well, there's no danger of Saka missing that one. Arsenal take the lead here on 18 minutes at the Vitality. Just to confirm that early goal for Newcastle against Burnley, that was scored by Miguel Almiron. So slowly but surely we're getting some Premier League goals this afternoon. And not the start that Bournemouth wanted, despite some positive play and a couple of promising little moves getting forward. They have conceded inside the first 20 minutes, and it's going to get more and more difficult here for Bournemouth, you feel, once Arsenal have a lead and they've got somebody to defend. They're really good at just keeping the ball and trying to expand on that. Declan Rice is doing exactly that. He's getting away from two Bournemouth players, finding Saka on the right-hand side. Back into Odegaard. And Rice just holding on to the ball, being closed down by Phil Billing, but it's going to be a really important test for Bournemouth now, these next 5 or 10 minutes, because if you can see already, Arsenal aren't going to give the ball away as easy. They've now got something to hold on to, and it's very important here. Bournemouth being the home side, they can't let their shoulders drop.
No, they really can't, Bournemouth. And I think, we've praised them in this opening 18 minutes of the game. They have been on in the game. I was about to say on top, not been on top. Arsenal have had dominated possession of the ball, but other than perhaps that opportunity there that Arsenal created, not really created a lot of opportunities. I think Bournemouth have been quite good, and in possession of the ball they've been brave, they've been playing out from the back, and they've had a few openings of themselves where they've just picked the wrong pass. But one lapse in concentration, a good ball to the back post from Odegaard. Neto, as you said, just misjudged where the head of the ball from Jesus was going to go, and it's a tap-in for Bukayo Saka. And Arsenal, such good front runners, they've a difficult train to stop, aren't they, the Gunners? And I think the next kind of 10 minutes in this match could be pivotal as to the way it goes. If Bournemouth can just silence and just slow down this Arsenal steam train in these next 10 minutes and just keep possession of the ball and try and create a few opportunities of their own and let Arsenal know they're still there, they may get themselves back into this game, because Arsenal's defence, although it's looked better in recent weeks, it hasn't always been the most convincing this season.
No, they can still be got at, but just as we said that, Bournemouth give it away in midfield, and here's Odegaard charging towards their penalty area, clips the ball over the top looking for Nketiah. Neto comes out and didn't look the most confident sort of intervention from the goalkeeper initially, but he does actually get control of the ball and kills that attack stone dead. He quickly bowls it out as well here for Tavernier, who gets over the halfway line. Solanke had to watch the offside, but he's back in an onside position now. Tavernier still carrying on down the right-hand side before having to check his run and go back towards Max Aarons. There, heading towards the penalty area. Now Billing over towards Aarons, who was clearly offside, and it's just a little bit frustrating there from Bournemouth. They've got to try and watch that line a little bit quicker. Arsenal very quick in moving forward as well. But it was Odegaard who gave that ball away initially. It's played back towards David Raya now. He's got players coming towards him, but he's still got time to go out towards Gabriel. Ball down the left-hand side, taken down by Nketiah. He tries to back-heel it to a teammate. There was nobody ahead of him. So Bournemouth now have the ball back here with Marcos Senesi over the halfway line. Just holds on to it. Leaves it now for Ryan Christie, who tries a left-footed ball out towards Justin Kluivert. Does well to take it down. He's got an overlap from Kirkes, but he prefers to go alone towards the middle. And brought down there by Bukayo Saka. I mean, arguably, you could say that Kluivert was going down in instalments there. It didn't seem like it was much of a foul. But the free kick has been given. Just see from this replay here. I mean, yeah, there's a bit of a raised foot there from Saka, in fairness. So it probably is the right decision. Lewis Cook now standing over this free kick for Bournemouth. He's got 3 or 4 players to try and pick out at the edge of the penalty area. Arsenal still trying to keep that offside line as high as possible to make it as difficult as possible for Bournemouth to get nearer to their own penalty area. But here comes the ball now. It's going to be left-footed cross from Tavernier. Oh, he's lifted it way too far. He goes past everybody inside the penalty area, and it's cleared out by Ben White. It will be a throw to Bournemouth right by the corner flag on the right-hand side, but Tavernier's got to do better there. Yeah,
very wasteful from Tavernier, isn't it? It has to be said. You mentioned it overhit it, and he did just overhit it. He almost put it out for a throw-in down the other end. In the end, the ball just was slowing up in time, so Ben White was pressed when he tried to clear, so Bournemouth do have a throw-in, but Arsenal dealt with that, I was about to say, but slightly lucky deflection back off Gabriel means it's going to be a Bournemouth corner. It's been a good response from the hosts.
He has, and because it's on the right-hand side, it's likely to be a left-footed in-swinger here from Tavernier, so it does give him a chance to try and make amends for that very poor free kick just a moment ago. And we'll see what he can do this time. All the big men are still up from that previous free kick. He's got Zabani, Senesi, plus Solanke and others to try and aim for. Billing is there inside the 6-yard box. Still a little bit too close to that near post. Easily dealt. I think it was Saliba with the header back out into midfield. It's played back in here by Cook. Back heel there from Christie. An elaborate attempt at a pass, but Arsenal deal with that. And they're off on the counter now with Eddie Nketiah down the left-hand side. He needs some support. Plays it back towards Declan Rice. Arsenal not so desperate to just charge forward. They're quite happy to stay inside their own half, get a few players further forward. And just as I say that, Bukayo Saka is quite happy to send that ball back towards the edge of his own penalty. We're over the halfway mark in this first half. It is Bournemouth 0, Arsenal 1, and it will be Ben to take us through to half-time.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Looks like we may have another goal in the Premier League, which at Goodison Park, which we will update for you if and when it goes in. Looks as if Luton may well have taken the lead there at Goodison. An Everton team have won their last 2 games, of course. Villa Park on midweek and Brentford last Saturday evening. So 2 away victories in a row for Everton. They may well be trailing at home this afternoon, but it is Arsenal that are currently winning away from home. Bournemouth that trail at home at the moment. Arsenal looking to come forward with that second goal here as Rice finds Odegaard. Odegaard in behind towards Gabriel Jesus. Jesus has got support in Kai Havertz and Odegaard, and it's Martin Odegaard in the end that turns his effort goalwards. I think it may well be put behind in the end from a Bournemouth central defender. Perhaps it was Zabani. It was really hard to tell. Really congested in there in the Bournemouth penalty area. It's a beautiful ball in behind from Odegaard. It splits Max Aarons and Zabani. And is it Zabani in the end that puts it behind? It is Martin Odegaard, the Arsenal captain, on the back of Zabani. On this occasion, though, it's Zabani that gets there ahead of the Arsenal man and puts it behind for an Arsenal corner, which Declan Rice unusually has come across to take. Martin Odegaard's there as well, so I presume it's going to be a short corner routine for Arsenal, and it is the edge of the box to Alex Zinchenko, skips past Challenge, fires a shot goalwards. Brilliant save from Neto. Really good strike from the Ukrainian there, Zinchenko. Thought it was going to go out for a corner, but it's brilliant bit of work from Max Aarons as well. Now Bournemouth look to break, but Bukayo Saka there, of all people, is on the cover to stop Tavernier from coming forward. But what a strike from Zinchenko, and Neto more than equal to it.
Well, we know that Zinchenko's got a fantastic left foot. He really does have that definition of that left-footed, putting your laces through it, really smashing that one in. And it's a really good save. Just to tell you, it was Tom Lockyer, the Luton club captain, that has given them the lead away at Goodison Park. Everton 0, Luton 1. West Ham taking the lead at home to Sheffield United. And it's Jared Bowen with the goal. We're also getting word of a potential goal at Old Trafford. And it's not for Manchester United. Their problems seem to be continuing. They're playing the same team again this week, and having played Crystal Palace in the Carabao Cup in midweek and beating them.
Yeah, and that's the only game that's goalless incidentally so far in these afternoon kickoffs in the Premier League. So if that goal is going to stand, which it looks like it has, Crystal Palace have taken the lead at Old Trafford. We'll confirm to you the goal scorer, and we got it. We've got goals flying in the opening 25 minutes of the Premier League.
Well, we have. I mean, we've just seen two replays of Neto making that amazing save, and now he seems to have some sort of problem.
Yeah, he does. You mentioned it there. It was a terrific save actually from Neto, diving away to his right-hand side, but looks to be a bit uncomfortable there. I wonder whether or not he's taken a slight sort of awkward landing. It looks as if it's his right, maybe calf, that he's clutching it there, the Brazilian. And I don't think this is ideal for Bournemouth. Neto's such an important player for them in sort of in the last season and a half, particularly when obviously Bournemouth were scrapping for their lives at the back end of last season. He made some big saves, and when you look towards their substitute goalkeeper, it is obviously Radu, but he's not got a lot of experience, has he? Although he did play midweek and kept a clean sheet, of course, against Stoke City in the EFL Cup.
He did, but looking at his career over the last 6 or 7 years, he's never had since. The last time he had more than 25 games in a season was back in 2018, playing for Genoa. Since then, it's been 17 games in one season, 2 seasons as Inter Milan's sub-keeper. He had 17 games for Auxerre in the French league last season when he was on loan. But it's not looking too good here for Neto. Hopefully he can get up and say he is the club captain as well as being the first choice goalkeeper. But potentially, well, it looks like he's back on his feet now, and he is going to be okay to play on. Michael Salisbury just waiting for the drop ball to be given back to Neto. But potentially that's something that Arsenal may want to try and capitalise on, just to see perhaps try and close the goalkeeper down, just to test whether or not his feet really are as quick, or whether he's still got a bit of an injury. Yeah,
if the Bournemouth captain is carrying a bit of a knock, I'm sure Arsenal will be looking to exploit that. And they have just started to press the ascendancy in these last couple of minutes, the Gunners. I think Bournemouth, since that goal, it's kind of shell-shocked them, but they are again trying to be persistent, to play out from the back, and that's all that Iriola can ask from his side. Of course, a childhood friend of the Arsenal boss Mikel Arteta. They spoke for their admiration for one another prior to this game, but that's all out the window when the whistle blows, as Declan Rice tries to be a bit too extravagant there. Now Bournemouth can pick the ball up on the right hand side with Ryan Christie. Christie will drive at this Arsenal back line, but they get back in numbers, do the Gunners. They've got all 11 players now behind the ball, but Bournemouth maintain possession of the ball with Philip Billing. Billing this time opts to go backwards and just hold possession of the ball. He finds Zabani to Lewis Cook. Cook over to the left hand side towards Senesi, who's taken up a position almost as a left back here, the Argentine. He finds the Bournemouth left back Kirkes back towards Philip Billing to Lewis Cook, who's dropped deep to try and pull the strings in the Bournemouth midfield. But again, it seems to be somewhat of a struggle for Bournemouth to really make any inroads on this Arsenal backline, but they are holding possession of the ball here. But it's very patient football from the Cherries. Really a lot of inroads being made.
No, Arsenal won't worry about this. As long as it's in the Bournemouth half and they have to take 7 or 8 passes just to reach the halfway line, Arsenal will be able to monitor that from a distance and stop anything. It's only when Bournemouth try and get over the halfway line and actually be a little bit more elaborate that the Gunners have to watch. But from this sort of standing possession, I think it will take an Arsenal mistake really for Bournemouth to get through, although Senesi trying a long ball over the top.
Yeah, not a bad ball from Senesi either, as Justin Kluivert chases that down, but Bukayo Saka can beat him with ease, and now it could be trouble for Bournemouth as Saka gets going, and he's so hard to stop in these sort of positions. Bukayo Saka driving on the right hand side. Kluivert trucks him back well to his credit, and Saka's forced backwards towards Ben White. White into the feet of Declan Rice. Rice forced backwards, but I think Arsenal won't mind this. So they've got this lead. They'll be patient in possession of the ball. Zinchenko into that midfield role that he always steps into when Arsenal in possession of the ball. The ball's played back towards David Raya, and the Spaniard will kick long towards Eddie Nketiah. Nketiah will win that knockdown, but Kai Havertz has brought down his man there, which Michael Salisbury will issue the foul. And the free kick to Bournemouth gives me a chance to tell you who got the opening goal at Old Trafford Crystal Palace, Joachim Andersen. I'm told it was quite a good goal as well from Joachim Andersen, and Arsenal will be happy to hear that news, that another one of their rivals are training, although Manchester United haven't got off to an ideal start at all this season. But
their problems on and off the pitch are very well documented. I mean, it's Erik ten Hag's almost having to act like a politician in his press conferences now, just avoiding questions and avoiding the issues on Jadon Sancho and a couple of other players, and of course the issues with Anthony off the field, as well as the issue of ownership and progress of the club as a business rather than just on the football side. But when things aren't going well on the pitch, of course, there's a lot more focus on those other things. If United were winning every game, then the journalists wouldn't have as much of a reason to constantly keep coming back to those other subjects. But if they were to lose to Palace today, I mean, as it stands, United find themselves in 9th place, and a couple of if Palace were to win, and Newcastle are currently winning against Burnley, so United are going to find themselves a little bit further cut off from that top 6, top 4. But here at Vitality, since that goal, although Bournemouth have had little glimmers, they've just not been able to really put any kind of sustained pressure on Arsenal.
It's just been Arsenal dominating possession of the ball in the middle of the park. They're not really themselves been able to get into the Bournemouth final third, but Arsenal just doing what they do. But one, it was a slender lead. I think Mikel Arteta will be reinforcing the message of his players that we do need to go forward and play with purpose still, because whilst this scoreline's 1-0, anything can happen. It kind of similar pattern to the North London derby last weekend. Arsenal dominated that game in the opening half an hour, had opportunities to score goals, didn't do it, and obviously Spurs, I should say, pegged them back on 2 occasions in the end, courtesy of sort of 2 defensive mishaps for the Gunners, as Luton Town look to have got a second at Goodison. They've doubled their advantage, and that is a tremendous scoreline really, as Luton look as if they may well be heading for their first Premier League win.
Absolutely, and it's their number 9. It's Clinton Morris with the goal for Luton. So I'm scared to think what's going to happen when Everton put that on their Twitter feed. When they put that scoreline out, it's going to get all kinds of responses, isn't it, from furious Evertonians? But that could potentially give you a real lifeline for Luton, because you sort of looked at their first few games, there was a bit of endeavour, there was a real bit sort of feel-good factor around the players and the fans, but they just didn't seem to be that much on the pitch. But if they could get a win today, and then they're at home to Burnley on Tuesday, all of a sudden it looks good for the Hatters.
It really does, and just when you think Everton are starting to build momentum with a good win at Brentford last time out in the league, and a good win at Villa Park midweek.
Both those wins very deserved as well. They played much better than both Brentford and Villa in those two games you mentioned. So that really is a step back. It just shows that Sean Dyche has still got a few problems with that Everton squad. In the meantime, there's a bit of a strong challenge here, and potentially we may be seeing a card here as well. Yeah,
Kai Havertz penalised for a foul there, and I think referee Michael Salisbury is going to reach into his book, and Kai Havertz is going to be the first man to be cautioned in this game. It was a strong-looking challenge from Kai Havertz, who's no stranger to a yellow card, and you see it again there. He just catches Philip Benning, he comes sliding in. It's going to be a foul.
It is. I mean, he's not a centre-forward, Kai Havertz, although he's played in that position many times, but that really is a centre-forward's tackle there from Havertz. He's never got much of a chance of getting the ball, and particularly now with referees being asked to clamp down on any kind of violent, any kind of sort of late challenges, that's always going to be a booking. I think even in the old days where referees weren't perhaps as strict as they have been told to be this season, potentially could have still been a yellow card. But Bournemouth take the free kick short, and they're pushing on down the right-hand side.
Here they are as they come forward on this right-hand side towards Ryan Christie. Christie will play the ball into the feet of Max Aarons, and it's a good interception in there from Alex Zinchenko. It'll be a Bournemouth throw-in on that far right-hand side. Max Aarons, the ball in his hand. He's taken a while to take this throw, though. There's not a lot of movement in red and black for the Cherries. Aarons has got support in Billing and Christie. He opts in the end to throw the ball to the latter, but he's dispossessed by Zinchenko. To Gabriel. Gabriel forced to go clear there. It was good charging down from Max Aarons, but it will be nothing but an Arsenal goal kick. Just over 33.5 minutes played. An independent off-tube studio-based coverage. The Arsenal, as it stands, going into second in the league, just a point behind Manchester City, who trail at Molineux. Pedro Neto with the goal there. Long way to go still, though, as David Raya takes the goal kick for Arsenal. Finds Declan Rice back towards David Raya. Raya over to the right-hand side. Left-hand side, I should say, to Gabriel. Gabriel shoved in the back there, surely, but Arsenal are going to play on, and Gabriel Jesus uses his strength to find Zinchenko. Zinchenko into the feet of Havertz. Kai Havertz there has been kicked up in behind from Philip Billing, and I think that's one of those ones, Paul, where I've got you, you've got me, I'm going to get you back here, And that's exactly what Philip Billing's done to Kai Havertz.
Yes, it is. I mean, you always think that players sort of get above that sort of thing, but there is still that little bit of personal rivalry. And Havertz, as he's trying to get away, I mean, Billing does a little bit less, I suppose, in terms of sliding in, but it's still quite a clumsy challenge there from Billing. Looks like he's got away without a yellow card, but if he does anything like that again, you'd imagine the referee would be thinking about a booking. It
wasn't as bad as the Kai Havertz challenge you mentioned. He didn't go to ground there, Philip Billing, but it's certainly believe there was a bit of a malice in that challenge, just a bit of revenge after Kai Havertz left one on him a few moments ago. But Arsenal have taken this free kick quickly then with Saliba back towards David Raya, the Spaniard, who's now not sporting the number 1 jersey for Arsenal, but he certainly is their number 1 after starting 3 Premier League games in a row. Everton North London derby, of course, last weekend, and now here at the Vitality, there's Gabriel Jesus with a quick bit of footwork there, plays the ball over to the right hand side towards Bukayo Saka. Kirkes comes across to meet him as Saka just cushions the ball down to Ben White. Ben White's got support in Martin Odegaard. The Arsenal captain has found Bukayo Saka. Saka into the feet of Nketiah, looks to flick it on to Zinchenko. Zinchenko round the corner to Nketiah. Brilliant football from Arsenal. Can he get his shot away? He can't. The ball's in the end bouncing around the Bournemouth penalty box. Nketiah falls on it. I think he ends up using his arm to control the ball as he hits the ground. It will be a Bournemouth free kick, but that was really intricate play from Arsenal around the penalty area, and it almost opened up for him.
It did almost up for him. At one stage it looked as though he was just going to find that gap. Just as he was about to pull the trigger, it's a good sort of block there from Aarons getting into the right position, and eventually Bournemouth are able to deal with that. But still 9 minutes plus injury time to go in this first half. That's not a good clearance though from Nessa. Goes straight to Bukayo Saka, and although Saka flicks it up in the air, Odegaard closing down on Marcos Senesi. Bournemouth do finally get the ball away from their own penalty area, but it's taking a lot of work just for Bournemouth to get over the halfway line. You just feel as though Arsenal have got a bit more of a structure about them now, but just as I say that, it's given away by Zinchenko at the edge of his own box. Arsenal, though, are able to recover, and here they go now with Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus will find the feet of Kai Havertz, I was about to say, but he was dispossessed there well by Bournemouth, and now Bournemouth will come forward, looking to find Dominic Solanke in behind, but Saliba is equal to him. But again, it's good work from Tavernier, but Tavernier, his attempted ball was blocked, but Philip Billing wins it back for Bournemouth. It's a bit of a scrappy affair here, but Dominic Solanke does well for Bournemouth. Can he get a shot away? Finds Tavernier. Tavernier shoots. Good block, I should say, in there from William Saliba, and then Gabriel Jesus is pulled to the floor by Max Aarons, and it was effective play from Bournemouth. It was almost a brilliant bit of interplay from them, but it's a good block in there from Arsenal, and then good work from Gabriel Jesus to win the free kick.
Yeah, Jesus flicks it up in the air, and he's giving Tavernier almost no choice. Aarons almost no choice there. He's either saying to him, well, let me run past you, or if you're going to run into me, I'm going to get a free kick. And Aarons went for option B there. It is a free kick to Arsenal, which they've taken short. Meanwhile, it's West Ham doubling their lead as well. Yeah,
another struggling, newly promoted team. Sheffield United shipped 8 last weekend. Shipped 2 already in the opening 35 minutes here. I wouldn't imagine it'd be 8 again, but
it won't be 8 again, I don't think. But Thomas Souček with the second goal there for West Ham to follow up on the earlier goal from Jared Bowen.
Yeah, it's a foul there from. Well, I was about to say it's a foul there from Justin Kluivert in the back of Ben White, but I think our referee Michael Salisbury has indicated that Ben White used an arm to control the ball, so it will be a free kick to Bournemouth. And Arsenal, although this is 1-0, I don't think they've been particularly good in the opening 38 minutes of this match. They took the opportunity when it came, almost a bit fortunate, really, courtesy of Neto's poor positioning. Bukayo Saka didn't really have to do a lot with his effort, and Bournemouth have certainly been in this game, particularly the last 10 minutes when they've actually
dominated. I would have said I was expecting Arsenal, once they took the lead, I was expecting them to be a little bit more dominant in midfield, which they haven't really been able to do yet. And that's certainly, you have to partially credit Bournemouth for that, for making it difficult for the Gunners to get their 3 central midfielders, Odegaard, Rice and Havertz, more into the game. But Bournemouth taking the free kick short, Arsenal with an offside just in front of their box.
Yeah, Lewis Cook will chip long into the box, and Jesus will get up well for Arsenal, and then it's won by Tavernier, who's got plenty of time to cross it. Tavernier, is he going to do it? He finds Max Aarons on the overlap. Aarons does well. Kai Havertz comes across to meet him. Really good defending there from the German Kai Havertz. That's one thing that I think has been praised so far in his short time in North London, the fact that he will work hard and he'll get back and do his defensive duties, although in the final third he's not quite been able to have that same impact. But slight worrying concerns here for Arsenal as their number 9, Gabriel Jesus, looks to be down. Michael Salisbury is actually calling physios onto the pitch. I think David Raya has said he's okay, but now Michael Salisbury going to call across Marco Senesi. Is this one final warning before issuing the yellow card, I believe, as Senesi left a late one on Gabriel Jesus there.
He did, yeah. I mean, he's still trying to argue this, that there was nothing wrong with what he did, or that he was all just trying to play the ball. But it's clumsy. It's a sort of a knee to the back of the thigh of Jesus, and depending on how you catch someone, I mean, we will remember that from the Pregnant. That's how you give someone a dead leg, isn't it? But I mean, it's certainly there. It would have been a painful one for Jesus, and thankfully he's back up on his feet. We can see the shot stats. This does show a bit more Arsenal dominance. 5 efforts from the Gunners, 2 of which have been on target. Just the 1 effort from Bournemouth, which was off target.
Yeah, and that was obviously the block shot that we had a couple of moments ago. So really, it has been dominant from Arsenal. Bournemouth haven't really created anything in the final third. Very similar to the game at Goodison Park a couple of weekends ago, really, Paul, from what I've seen so far. But Arsenal have given the ball away here from Ben White. Now Solanke looks to go forward on the left-hand side. Is this a chance for Bournemouth to create the first opportunity of the match? It is, as almost a shot away from Ryan Christie. It was good work from Declan Rice to come back and defend that well for the Gunners. But Bournemouth can keep it alive with Cherries. Cherries cuts inside of Bukayo Saka. It's got support in Senesi. Senesi looks to cross from a deep angle. Crosses well. David Raya comes out and claims. Really, really good goalkeeper from David Raya. That's another thing that he'll get praised for. The Spaniard, so quick off his line to deal with these crosses, and claims that really well, really confidently. And
yeah, he needed to do it as well, absolutely, because there was plenty happening there in front of him, and poor old Aaron Ramsdale, every time Raya makes a save, the camera straight on Aaron Ramsdale.
Yeah, there's been a bit of a situation for the last few games for Arsenal. It was similar to when Ramsdale made a save midweek. The cameras then panned to David Raya. I'm not quite sure how long this debacle is going to go on for, but obviously, we're having 2 almost world-class goalkeepers in your ranks. It is a difficult situation to have. I'm sure it's a good problem for Mikel Arteta.
Oh, it is, absolutely. I mean, I suppose in terms of the quality, you could say it's a slightly lesser situation, but Brighton are doing something similar in terms of rotating Verbruggen and Jason Steele. A couple of them have had, one of them's had a couple of games and the other one's had a couple of games. It's not, it doesn't mean that every goalkeeper has to play every single game, but in Arsenal's case, they really have got 2 excellent keepers fighting for that one jersey. And as I say, Raya's hardly had anything to do in this first half, so the first time he was called upon, he needed to respond, but still got about 3.5 minutes to go plus injury time in this first half.
Yeah, we thought Everton pulled a goal back at Goodison Park, but that looks to be not to have been the case. Whether or not it was an offside or a chance, but we had confirmation that it isn't a goal for Everton there. It remains 2-0. There is a VAR check, though, on board we're hearing, so perhaps it may well be an Everton goal. We are just waiting to see that, but Arsenal come forward on the left-hand side as we wait. Good bit of work there from Odegaard and Nketiah, and I think he's got the ball. Has he not?
Penalty!
It looked for all the worlding purposes that Max Aarons has won the ball. Aarons looks perplexed. Michael Salisbury, in no hesitation, he had the best view. He points to the spot, and it's going to be really interesting to see this again. The VAR will obviously have a look at it. It looked from the angle of the ball, the way that went, that Max Aarons had won the ball here, but I think this will be a better angle for us to tell, and maybe not.
Does he get the ball? I mean, the initial angle we saw, the live picture suggested that he did.
No, he doesn't.
It's Nketiah that plays it with the left foot. I mean, you could argue that touch from Nketiah means he's probably going to go out of play anyway, but it doesn't matter. The point is that there is a lunge there from Aarons and he doesn't get the ball.
It's a brilliant decision, it has to be said, from Michael Salisbury, isn't it? Because looking at initial play from our television pictures, it looked as if where the angle the ball went, that it could only have been a good tackle from Max Aarons. It wasn't, though. Nketiah wins his second penalty of the season. He won one in Arsenal's first home game of the season at Selhurst Park, which was scored by Martin Odegaard. Bukayo Saka scored a penalty in the North London derby last weekend.
The fact that Saka took the ball as if to sort of maybe get a little bit of the heat off the Bournemouth players, and then as soon as everything's calmed down, then he gives it to the guy who's actually going to take it, which is Martin Odegaard.
So that's something that Arsenal do, quite regularly. It happened last week. Odegaard had the ball, he gave it to Saka. This occasion, Saka gives it to Odegaard. So Odegaard scored a penalty this season. Saka scored a penalty this season. Now it's Odegaard's responsibility again. Martin Odegaard against Neto. It's Martin Odegaard, the Arsenal captain, as cool as you like to stroke it home. Arsenal doubled their advantage. It was never in doubt. The Norwegian is firing just as he was last. And Arsenal have doubled their lead without being at their brilliant best. It's Bournemouth 0, Arsenal 2.
Yeah, and it's a very confident penalty from Odegaard. A real sort of quick run-up. Looks like he was going to welly it with his left foot. That's what Neto expected. He dived to his left-hand side, but then just as soon as Neto started to move to his left, Odegaard takes all the power off and a very controlled rolling of the ball into the right-hand side of the goalkeeper. Absolutely no chance as well. Very close to that post as well. Very precise from Odegaard. He does really have a GPS in that left foot of his, doesn't he, in terms of some of the accuracy, but things getting very difficult for Bournemouth now. When they went 1-0 down, there was still a bounce around Bournemouth in terms of trying to get back into the game, but they really struggled to get any kind of inroads into putting pressure on Arsenal. But now with them having a 2-goal deficit, it's going to be very difficult. Interestingly, that penalty that was given for Arsenal, and then all the fallout from that, and then the penalty being scored and the celebrations, and only now do we have confirmation from VAR that Everton's goal has been given. So it was a very long VAR check there at Goodison.
Yeah, it was over a 2.5 minute check for an offside, Paul. So, I mean, that's quite bizarre, because surely it's onside or it's offside. So that may well be one of those situations where it's a fingernail whip of offside. Anthony Taylor's the referee there. So, I mean, it's given. It's 2-1 there. It's 2-0 at the Vitality on this service. Bournemouth have got it all to do, really, as we approach the 45th minute to see how long's going to be added on by our fourth official. I think that's going to be a goal. Oh, I thought it was going to be a goal kick.
I mean, Odegaard literally slammed his feet into the turf in frustration there towards the referee. He was sure that was going to be given as a goal kick. 5 minutes of added time has just been displayed by our fourth official, Mr. Allison, for this afternoon. I suppose we have had a penalty, we've had a couple of injuries, we've had 2 goals, so 3.5, 4 minutes would have been the minimum anyway, so 5 is about right, and it's going to be an in-swinging corner here for Bournemouth from Lewis Cook.
Yep, as Paul mentioned there, Lewis Cook to take this corner for Bournemouth to really give Arsenal something to think about going into the break. It's a poor corner though, easy headed away by Gabriel Jesus, and Bukayo Saka looks to bring it out for Arsenal.
Well, there's 3 or 4 players in Bournemouth who are 6 foot plus. Why would you do that? I'll come back to that though, because here comes another chance here. Billing breaking into the box. His shot is deflected out for a corner, but that doesn't excuse the fact that Lewis Cook had all those tall players in the box, and he aimed his corner kick for the edge of the D. What's the point of that? And Arsenal dealt with it. Bournemouth come back, and Billing's effort is stopped by Gabriel for another corner.
How good was that from Gabriel, by the way? I mean, Philip Billing gets in behind there, and Gabriel just matches him stride for stride before sticking out an outstretched left leg to block that shot that was definitely going goalwards. This time it's a better corner though from Bournemouth, and Dominic Solanke, I should say, was on the end of it at the back post, but he almost didn't read the flight of the ball, so he didn't jump in the right time, and in the end he's flat-footed as anything. He couldn't get over the ball, as I say, because he didn't jump, and the ball just cannons off the top of his forehead and out for an Arsenal goal kick.
No, as you said, it almost wasn't a header from Solanke. It was almost a deflection off his head that he almost wasn't ready for it, wasn't ready to try and get some kind of direction on it. But Andoni Iraola, he's already had some difficult half-time team talks, and this is going to be another one, I think, this afternoon. The side have got it all to do in the second half, and Arsenal, even without being at their brilliant best, still look very much in control.
Yeah, they do. I mean, Bournemouth have had 2 attempts on goal, not actually on target yet, so it's been pretty one-sided, and as you like for Arsenal, we're riding on a disappointment, I guess, not winning the North London derby, especially at home when they've got such a terrific record there. But I'll break off because Arsenal come forward with Bukayo Saka to Martin Odegaard. Oh, the ball was just fizzed into Odegaard, so it's difficult for him to control, but he'll maintain possession of the ball. He'll find Saka. Saka will find Declan Rice. Rice on to Zinchenko. This is good football from Arsenal in and around the Bournemouth penalty area. Havertz, Zinchenko. Zinchenko's got support in Declan Rice, and Rice will take the ball on the half-turn and drive forward for Arsenal. He'll find Gabriel Jesus on that left-hand side. Jesus into Zinchenko. It's brilliant football from Arsenal, but again, Bournemouth stick to their task quite well defensively, and Billing, I think, is going to do enough to force the goal kick, and he does. Zinchenko, in the end, just overrunning it, but good football from Arsenal winning around that penalty area as we just tick over the halfway point of the 5 minutes that were added on, and we're almost at the 48th minute, and Arteta, I don't think he'll be really happy with what he's seen so far, but you can't be disappointed when your team's 2-0 up and in complete control.
No, I think, as I say, he'll always have some critique in terms of the style. A couple of times Arsenal have given the ball away a little bit too easily in midfield, but generally speaking, they're more than getting the job done here, and certainly from Arteta's point of view, what he'll be looking for in the second half is just a little bit more control, just getting another goal, potentially just to really get this game over the line. And of course, I'm sure he'll have one of his coaches or one of his backroom staff keeping an eye on the latest scores from elsewhere, where they're into the 4th minute of added time at Molineux, and Wolves still lead Manchester City by a goal to nil, which is incredible really when you consider the stats from that game. Manchester City 70% possession. They've had 12 efforts, but only one of them, Ben, has been on target. Wolves have only had 1 effort, and interestingly, according to the stats that I'm looking at, their effort was off target. So I don't know. So I'm not quite sure how they've managed to get a goal when they've only had 1 shot and it was off target. But in any case, they lead against Manchester City. That game is at half-time now. It's also half-time at Old Trafford, where Manchester United are trailing at home to Crystal Palace.
Yeah, Wolves have beaten Manchester City at Molineux, but it was 4 years ago. Since then, it's been very one-sided. That fixture, very Manchester City heavy, as it is against most teams in the Premier League. But almost at half-time whistle there, and almost a half-time whistle here, as Arsenal lead at the Vitality Stadium. A ground where they've had a lot of success in recent years. Bournemouth just won one of their 12 matches against Arsenal at the Vitality. That was in 2018, of course, but since then it's been pretty one-way traffic. Arsenal, of course, with that 4-0 victory here last season, where William Saliba really come of age and scored an absolute screamer with his weaker left foot. But here come Bournemouth with Tavernier and Kluivert, and Kluivert, it looks to combine there with Tavernier, and I thought it was going goalwards. It looked as if, I think it was Ryan Christie in the end that gets his shot away. It looked as if the ball was going to end up in the back of the net, and then you just see David Raya out of screen, just dive away to his left-hand side, and in the end it looked a lot more comfortable than I thought it was initially going to be.
Well, the thing is, Ryan Christie has got an excellent left foot on him, but you wouldn't think so for seeing that effort. He's hit that pretty much straight into the ground, not really got his foot through it, and although it's a good save from Raya to hold on to it, it wasn't as strong an effort as Christie would have liked there.
Yeah, he's got to be doing better there, Ryan Christie, you feel. He just hit it into the floor, which kind of took the power off the ball. But that is it for the first half. Bournemouth come on strong, but Arsenal, without being anywhere near their best, lead by 2-0. Martin Odegaard from the penalty spot after Bukayo Saka made amends in the earlier portion of the game. It's Arsenal that lead at the break by 2-0.